Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Good evening. Well, here's a subject that I think everybody is interested in, and a subject which actually a lot of people just don't understand. They don't understand money. They don't understand how some people have got it and some people haven't. And I have a few anecdotal insights into the way that it's affected me, which may possibly help you. Well, the more that I found that the more that I focused on money, the more messed up it got. And when I focus more on working and getting things done, whether it be working smart or super intelligent or just super hard, the sweat of my brow and so on, all kinds of descriptions like that, the more that I focus not on the money itself but on getting stuff done, the more likely the money was to come in. I've forgotten who it was now. It might have been Yogi Berra, who said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And so there's a few little formulas that I've used with some success, and which I have observed people, including myself, misusing and misapplying. And one of the things that seems to me to be the least understood is the condition where suddenly it seems like your work has paid off and you've started to get lucky. Now, that's where, on a comparative basis, right, depending on how poor you are or how rich you are, the condition that I'm describing will vary in terms of how much money is involved. Now, if you haven't had a job in years, and then suddenly find something that you're good at and start doing, and it starts paying off, then you could say that you have become affluent immediately following the success of what you've started to do. Now, depending on where you were, as I say, if you were earning no money and then suddenly start to get money coming in, it's like you're affluent. And then if you're, let's put it this way, if you're at the top of the scale and you suddenly find that your company is landing contract after contract, so much so that you are floating on money, then comparatively speaking, if you've been struggling up to that point, you're now in a kind of an affluent state. Now, when this occurs, it's the condition that is the most misunderstood, and it's the one that is misapplied as to what you do next. Now, anybody that's been in any kind of a business at all knows that really the golden rule is you find what works and you reinforce it, and you find out what doesn't work and you drop it. So you monitor your work and your efforts, whatever they are, be it making multiples in the tens of thousands or just being a better janitor. You look at and assess your activity, and you will then make a decision as to your next step based on what you observe. Now let's assume that you observe correctly and you reinforce the right things and drop all of the wrong things, and life is going pretty good. That's the point at which most people make the big mistake. What they do is they assume, and mostly incorrectly or often incorrectly, let's not worry about the guys who correctly assume and go on to become multimillionaires. Let's not worry about those. They don't need us to concern ourselves with them. Let's look at the other people who have been doing okay or fairly okay or good and now a lot better. What's their next action going to be? Well, as we said, the golden rule is that you reinforce what you perceive to have been working. If you're an artist and you start painting pictures of clowns and they're selling like hotcakes, what do? Well, if you have any sense at all, you'll start painting furiously pictures of clowns. Now, if you've also at the same time been painting landscapes and they don't sell very much, but you love doing it, now you've got a big decision to make. Maybe you need to improve the landscapes that you've been doing so that they're as good as the clowns, or you drop the landscapes and do what you're good at. You paint the clowns and they sell like hotcakes, and your future, based on that, should be assured. Now, if it's that you're selling a particular flavor of beans and you're canning them a certain size and they're the ones that sell off the shelves like hotcakes, or maybe you're selling hotcakes and they're going like hotcakes, you keep on doing the good thing. You keep on doing what works. Now, it's really not hard, is it? If it is that your efforts are focused on attracting that one particular hot-looking guy that walks through your store every morning and always remarks how good you look in yellow, then go out and get some yellow dresses and yellow jeans and do what works. It's not hard to work it out. Now, what else is involved in that? Let me tell you what Beth and I did. Beth and I were doing okay. We had my pensions, I have 2 pensions, and as we were recounting to friends at lunch today, we had enough to be able to live comfortably but modestly. Okay, when I say modestly, I don't mean you're going along saying, oh, I'm really not so good at things. No, I'm talking about not eating steaks every day, not going out and buying new clothes every day. I'm talking about making do with what you have, living as happily as you can on what you're earning, and that it would be modestly. Now, we suddenly started to do, instead of building houses and buying the red truck that we had, instead of focusing on that, we started to focus on doing a YouTube channel. Okay, so did you hold on to that thought? Well, I didn't, but I didn't kill a dog, but nearly did. But anyway, so you live modestly and you live within your means. What does living within your means mean? Well, if you make $500 a week, live according to a lifestyle that will cost you, say, $400 or $450, and at the end of that week you will still have $50. Now that's fairly obvious, fairly common sense. You live within your means. But dealing with this unexpected flow of money into your life is the trick. You wouldn't think that this was the difficult part, but it is. Now, as Beth and I began to focus on our YouTube channel, we became absorbed in it, and we continued of necessity to live modestly, right, within our means. And then gradually, as our YouTube channel became more successful, we started to earn some money. Now, in Western terms, what we were earning was extremely modest. Not even close to a minimum wage for both of us for working 24/7. But here's the difference. We were unexpectedly disciplined by the fact that the money that came from our YouTube channel was not available to us because of a little glitch in their programming. You need to have a PIN number in order to be able to draw the funds, whatever they are, that you're earning. Well, we didn't have a PIN number, so we went online and we tried filling in all of those little things, those little questions. What's your name and what's your mother's name and all of this. So, however, and we tried to fill them all out, and we were fine until it came to the question, which must be answered: what's your PIN number? Well, we haven't got one, which is why we're doing this, but there's no question for that, you see. So, every time we try to get a PIN number, it asks us, if you want us to help you, what is your PIN number? Now, it was such a mess for about 3, I don't know, maybe 4 months of not being able to get the money. So, we continued to work very hard, and the focus was on working hard rather than reaping this money. Because even though in a foreign country, in America or in the UK, the money was a pittance in dollars or pounds, when it converted to 48, I think it was at the time, or 52 as it was a few weeks ago, 52 pesos to the dollar, it was pretty good. Now, we were forced to save. So in other words, we were not able to up our lifestyle. We continued to be modest. Now, Beth, the clever girl that she is, continued that saving even when, by a stroke of luck, we got our PIN number and we got our first payment. Our first payment was never used, nor was our second. And we have continued to save everything that we earn. Now, obviously, that's not every single dollar, but pretty well we've saved what we earned. Now, how were we able to do that? We did not let the increase in money increase our expenditure on our lifestyle. That was the secret. So, in other words, if you suddenly start to earn caviar money, caviar being an expensive way to spend your money, caviar and champagne becomes the way that you measure what you earn. How do you measure your corresponding lifestyle? Our corresponding lifestyle was rice and beans and sardines and pork on the bone made into soup. And then when we had to start putting our videos up because of lack of signal in the hill, we went to various restaurants and we ate our food there. And by virtue of the fact that I guess we smiled a lot and were nice to the people there, they worked with us, and especially Vedasto, that lady there, Daddy, never gave us any hard time, and I think that she knew what we were doing and how hard we were working. And so our only increase in expenditure was eating out, which was, our money was spent in modest terms again. We did not go out and order steak. We looked at the left-hand side of the menu for the price, and we ordered food we could afford, and we had to eat anyway, so what the heck, that was it. So you could say that, comparatively speaking, we had champagne and caviar money coming in, comparatively speaking, and our lifestyle stayed bread and butter, rice and beans. And even up to the fact that we've just bought an expensive truck, our lifestyle has remained the same. Now, for those of us who would criticize and say, oh yeah, well, yeah, sure, you're making that. But the fact is that we still don't really have a working bathroom. We work with a bucket and a faucet, and we dip the scoop in there, and we put the scoop up, and here it is. Here's the scoop, and over the head it goes, and that's how we bathe. We don't have a kitchen. We actually go down 30 feet, down some steps, to Nanai's house, and we eat there. We buy the food for there, and it's cooked, and we go down there between working, and we go and eat with Nanai and with everybody else that's going to be eating that night. We live modestly. Now, this is not, we're not martyrs. We love what we do. We do what we love, and it pays us. And what it pays us, because of the fact that we have money coming in on my pensions, modest though the pensions are, we save the extra money that we earn. It's never really become money to us. Now, as I say, the critics will discount what I'm saying here as if it's some kind of justifier for what we do. It's not the way. We bought a 2 million peso truck. How did we do that? Well, how does anybody else do it? Normally they put a down payment of 20% down or 25%, and they pay through the nose for 3 years. Now, why does it take them 3 years to pay it off? Because they're paying a lot of interest. If you want to work it this way, the amount that you're paying in interest devalues the dollar that you're paying with. So you're paying with a dollar which is not worth 100 cents. It's, think of it as the price of the truck was 2 million. What would the dollar have been that paid it off on finance? Believe me, the dollar would only have been worth about 80 or 85 cents. So that's why it would take you 3 years. Now, we didn't go that route. We saved our money. We saved dedicated religious. And after 2 years, because we're not saving with a dollar that's only worth 85 cents, we're saving with a dollar. So therefore, when it came to it, we had the money to buy the truck. And that's how we did it. And if you use finance or a credit card or a loan from the bank in any form where interest is charged, the dollar that you're using to pay back the loan is not worth a dollar. Now, I had a very, very good lesson that was taught to me while I was in Florida, in Fort Myers. This is when the crap had hit the fan, so to speak. the real estate had gone down the tubes. Houses that were originally valued for $1 million were going for a few $100,000. Houses that, say, like my own, valued at $283,000, is a modest house back then, and it went on the courtroom steps for $43,000. Valued in the good market at 283, sold for 43. Work it out for yourself. Things were bad. Right. I was listening to the radio, and a person who was a financial consultant made the point of how a person that she knew had been approached by their daughter, the fact that she had borrowed $5,000 in order to purchase something that she needed, either for college or for a car or for something. And this caused them, they were the old school where they bought things that they could afford by saving for them, like as I've been explaining to you. And they looked at it, and it turned out that if their daughter, for that $5,000 loan, and I'm plucking figures out of thin air for here, rather than trying to use a mathematically inclined mind, which I don't have, they worked out that if she only ever paid the minimum amount on her loan, on her credit card, she could be as long as 20 or 25 years paying that loan. Now work it out. She would probably, on a $5,000 loan, pay back $20,000 or $25,000. The man paid off the loan on the credit card, and they cancelled that credit card, and they taught their daughter a very important lesson, even though it cost them $5,000. So, you don't borrow if you want to keep the value of your dollar. You save the value of your dollar, and then when you can afford to get something, that's when you buy it. And you have to understand that you lived before you wanted whatever it is that you're now trying to buy. You lived before you wanted that, and you'll live again. So, I hope that this provides a lesson for when you go into the bank next time and they approach you like they do Beth and I when we go into the bank, and they say, "Sir, ma'am, why don't you take out one of our credit cards?" And we say, "No, thank you." And we have an ATM card. That's it, an ATM card. We have countless please invitations from PayPal. Congratulations! You have been selected to have a credit card. So thank you very much. Go to hell. We'll pay when we can afford it. Thanks for listening. I hope this sheds a little light on the idea of money. It doesn't establish me as a financial genius, but it does establish the fact that if you pay in cash for what you can afford, you're already streets ahead. Now, we may have an extremely expensive truck out there, but when we drive along, even though we would not want to lose that, if we lost it, it would not be the end of the world. But if we had only done a 1,000 or 100,000 pesos down payment, and we're paying 40 or who knows 45,000 pesos a month, if we lost that truck, we would still be responsible for the debt. Now, which condition do you think we're happiest with? We don't have that money in the bank anymore, but the truck is paid for, and we don't have a debt over our heads, which, without getting maudlin, at my age I have to think about that. I don't want to leave with great debts behind. Okay, thanks for listening. This is A Foreigner in the Philippines. Bye for now.